Hey everybody, it's Mr. 845 here, and we're interviewing another small business. This is Sam Lopez. Sam, tell us, who are you and what do you do?
Hello, my name is Sam Lopez. I'm the owner of Master Sweep of the Hudson Valley LLC, certified chimney professionals you can trust and depend on yearly. I specialize in offering a variety of services throughout the Hudson Valley. Uh, for example, video chimney inspections, chimney sweeps, realignment venting flue installations for wood, pellet, oil, and gas furnace and burning appliances. Excuse me if I worded that wrong.
Mhm.
Um, I do a lot of variety of masonry, chimney repair, and fireplace restoration.
All right. So first and foremost, before anybody gets to know you as a business owner, I always like to tell everybody how do people get in contact with you is the first thing. So that way, if they don't watch anything else of this video, they at least capture that. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you and utilize your services, how would they do that?
The best way to get in contact with me, because I'm usually out in the field a lot, I do check emails and I try to get to them as soon as I can. But the best way would be to contact me by phone. Um, and I'll get back to you within a day, maybe two at the most. Because again, I'm a one man operation. I've been one man operation since I started my business. So you leave me a message, with your contact information, then I'll get back in touch with you.
All right. And is that number the 518-249-4714?
Yep, you got it.
All right. And we'll make sure that we have all this contact information on the actual post when we post it up. But basically, we want to make sure that we capture that stuff. And I'll also have your socials too.
Okay.
Um, so now let's kind of go into it. So when it comes to owning a business, especially when it comes to chimney sweep, I'm sure that there's a lot of things that go into it. But before we even get into that part, we want to go back, way back, when you were younger, when you were a kid. Did you always want to be a chimney sweep? I'm sure that you wanted to do other things. So, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I mean, typical like a young, boy at that age when we're growing up, I wanted to be a baseball player, get into the sports world, and that didn't happen for me. So let's just face it, college wasn't really for me. I'm more of a hands-on kind of guy. So I decided I needed to learn a trade. And I ended up meeting up with some really nice guys that taught me the trade. And I took a liking to it. And I looked at it as I didn't have anything else under my belt, so I had to learn something. So I chose to stick with chimneys.
All right, awesome. And when it comes to the process, right, of learning how to do a chimney sweep and eventually own your own business. So take us through the process, just so that anybody that's kind of listening to this can understand. It's not just a sweep of a wand, right? And you become a chimney sweep. There's things that are in place that you have to certify and all that stuff. So tell us kind of like what the process is.
Okay, well, to become a chimney sweep, the first thing is that you would want to work for a company that is a chimney sweep company. So that way you kind of get your foot in the door. And then you get also the hands-on experience. And then as that goes, usually the boss will be the one to kind of give you exam books to start studying from. One of those exam books is the NFPA, which is the National Fire Prevention Association. All certified sweeps have to follow their codes and standards. Um, and then moving forward, you would sign up for an exam. You would take the exam. If you pass, then you become certified. So,
Yes. So
please.
now people might not know what a chimney sweep is. So kind of tell us, what does a chimney sweep do? So like I know that there's chimneys involved, right? But when it comes to like the services that you offer, there's a multitude of different services. So like if you define a chimney sweep, how would you define it?
Well, chimney sweeps should be done annually, meaning yearly. And the reason for it, and that's required through the NFPA. So the National Fire Prevention Association requires that a homeowner should have their chimney swept or inspected yearly. And that's just because it depends on the type of burning appliance that you're using. Most cases for a traditional open hearth fireplace, the venting system is made out of terracotta clay tile. So the tile is constantly being beaten up. It heats, contracts, and expands like a rubber band. Um, and if you're not getting the chimney cleaned on a yearly basis, it's going to take a lot more of a beating on it. So what I do when I come out and I meet with a customer is I perform that inspection with doing an actual video inspection. And that's actually taking documentation of the inside and the conditioning of the venting system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, moving forward, with that documentation, I have what's called an NFPA chimney condition report that I give all of my customers a copy of for their records. And on that, it has a little diagram of all the components of a chimney that the NFPA requires certified sweeps to look at to make sure that the chimney is safe to burn and it's operable.
Yeah.
With that being said, if something is not it's unsatisfied on the checklist, then that's when I would discuss with you as a homeowner moving forward what the next step would be in repair.
Okay. So the part, like basically, to kind of sum everything up that you said, if someone has a fireplace in their home, they have a chimney attached to it, right? This is layman because you are more experienced than me, but I want to make sure that we get everybody.
Okay.
So if they have a fireplace, they have a chimney. In that chimney, there are components that, if you do not clean them, could eventually cause components inside that chimney to get damaged or to take more of a beating, as you said, and eventually accumulate enough debris inside there that it could cause a fire, right? So cleaning up those chimneys and making sure that they are up to date on their inspections prevents a home fire from being caused, which, I mean, if you live at a home and you want to make sure that your home is safe, this is one way, especially if you use that fireplace during the winter. And in New York, we have, we had a really long winter this year. So it was from October all the way to I know October's fall, but October to probably like March, it was still cold. Like even the first week of April, it was still cold. So people might have been using their fireplaces. So, when it comes to chimneys, annual inspections are needed only because if you're using it, you'll eventually accumulate enough debris inside to cause a fire. So calling on Sam, master chimney sweeper of the Hudson Valley, you can make sure that you're not going to have to worry about that, right? So now let's talk about the upgrades, right? So if somebody has a really, like for me, when you came to my house, if somebody has a chimney that either the person before them, they just moved in, didn't clean it out, didn't take care of it, or it was damaged, and you have to upgrade it to repair it. Take us through kind of some of the process of, shopping for the different components and getting it upgraded.
Okay. With really quick going back, it's not just also for fire, Ray. It's also for prevention of carbon monoxide.
Okay.
So that's something also that I do because a lot of people, we cut on that switch for the furnace in the wintertime, fall and winter, and the furnace will produce carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
And if the chimney is damaged, the venting system on the inside, then it's going to create that carbon monoxide to enter the home. So that's something also that I prevent and make sure that customers are safe throughout the Hudson Valley and knowledgeable.
So now you do also furnaces. You do.
I don't service furnaces.
Yeah, but the flues, right?
Yeah, the flues. Yeah.
Okay. And what about like laundry? I know that there's gas run ventilation for appliances like your dryer. Do you also do those as well?
I really don't get too much into the dryer. I could, but being that I have my hands so full with just doing masonry repair and venting flue realignments. I also am a Regency stove dealer, so I sell Regency stoves, install those, and cleanings. I would say I got my hands pretty full right now for just
Okay.
one person.
Yeah, so I mean, let's kind of go back to the fireplace, and I honestly I didn't even think about the carbon monoxide, and that was actually important because if I remember correctly, one of the Yankees well, former Yankees just lost his son to carbon monoxide, so it is something that's important. Um, Carbon monoxide is an invisible gas, so you don't even know it's in the room. So big points and shout outs to you for even bringing that up.
Thank you.
Um, so now let's kind of go through the fireplace upgrade, right? So somebody wants to upgrade a fireplace. Um, can they just go with certain things and then they're good, or are there certain things that they have to upgrade to make sure that they're 100%?
Well, it really boils down to I don't have set prices like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of businesses because um, things vary in pricing.
Yeah, I
And then
mean,
I
people's chimneys are different, right?
exactly. And then what I also try to do is give a variety of options that a customer can have rather than just one option.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because times are hard for everyone, as you know, as far as with money.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do. I try to save as many people money as I can, but
Okay.
also provide a safe, productive, energy efficient product.
Yeah.
So if I were to go in and meet with you, like I met with you,
Mm-hmm.
prime example, I'll use our story kind
Yeah,
of.
that's
I
perfect.
met with you and I inspected your chimney. And when I inspected your chimney, we saw that the venting system was damaged. And there were two options at that point. It was either we repair the venting system, the current venting system that was there for your fireplace, or we went moving forward with installing an insert wood stove.
Mhm.
My opinion to a lot of my customers being that relining a fireplace venting flue is a lot more costly than it would be for you to purchase an insert stove to be inserted inside instead. Um, Being the fact that the diameter of the venting system is smaller, so the cost of the material is a little bit cheaper.
Okay.
Um, my opinion, a wood stove is more efficient than a traditional fireplace because a lot of times when you walk past a traditional fireplace, it's like walking past an open window in the middle of winter.
Mm-hmm.
All the heat is being sucked out of the chimney. But with an insert, it's directly connected to the venting system itself, and then the stove has a door with
Yeah.
a gasket around it, which makes it airtight sealed.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean,
So,
the biggest thing is, if you have an open fireplace, there's hazards with that. Of course, you have to get a cover that kind of goes in front of it, so that way you can make sure that people don't get burned.
yep,
You also have ash, or depending on the wood that you burn, it could pop and send debris out of the fireplace, cause a fire. So
yep,
having a fireplace insert, like the wood one that you installed for me, is great because it concentrates the heat. It actually can have a fan right installed that
yep.
blows into the room, but it's hot air. It's not having the capability of blowing any of the debris that's inside the fire itself, burning, like blowing into the room. So that's some awesome stuff. I mean, I remember running it for the first time, and it was like night and day. Like I could run the downstairs of my build. Like I have two fireplaces, as you know, but the downstairs one we upgraded. I could literally shut the heat off for the downstairs because literally that fireplace insert will warm the whole downstairs. It's kind of incredible. And then on top of that, like all that heat rises. So as I'm generating heat there, any excess will go into my upstairs, which also heats that as well and lowers my energy costs. Because you buy a thing of wood somewhere. What is it called? A yard,
A cord,
a
a
cord,
cord,
a
a
cord of
cord,
wood.
cord wood.
Somewhere, and then you could kind of burn all year. So kind of go through the process of, if they don't want to go with a fireplace insert like a wood one, what other options might they have?
Well, we sell a variety. I sell a variety of Regency stoves, such as wood, pellet, and gas. And Regency just came out with last year an electric stove.
Okay.
So actually, you can just take the dimensions. You have to have a 120 volt uh
Outlet.
outlet,
Hmm.
because it does take it does radiate a lot of energy. Um, and you just basically pop it out of the box and you slide it right into the fireplace.
Okay.
Um, they don't give you the same kind of effect like a wood stove or a pellet stove because it's not a real fire.
Hmm.
Um, they're making them pretty cool though. They look like gas stoves almost. But being that I've been doing this for so long, I can tell the difference. So it really depends on the customer's preference. Um, and other than that, it'll be a fireplace restoration. And again, that there's a lot more detailed into that.
Okay.
There's a lot more work that's involved.
Yeah. So now when you do an assessment, you do do you do for every single person, you do a video inspection?
Yes, I do.
All right. And then from
And
there, you give them the evaluation.
yes, you got
All
it.
right.
And then what I also do is I write out a proposal,
Mm-hmm.
and with that proposal, I attach those photos from that inspection to the proposal, and then I'll email it or I can mail it to the customers.
Okay. Now, I know that you also do external, right? So, like, if there's masonry issues, take me through that. I know that you've gone and evaluated mine. If somebody has a chimney and the exterior of the chimney is damaged, what hazards could they run into?
Well, a lot of times what happens is that the masonry chimneys they take a lot of beating in the fall and the winter, mostly in the winter because of the ice and the snow and the rain.
Mm-hmm.
And again, from heating, contracting, and expanding, the mortar joints they start to become flaky and they'll start to deteriorate, weakening the structure of the chimney. So that's when brick will start dropping. They'll damage the roof. I've been to a couple of jobs where I literally had cinder block fall on top of people's homes from a tree hitting it, and the chimney landed on their roof,
Oh yeah,
and
those.
it almost cracked their rafts that support the
Yeah,
roof.
yeah, yeah. The rafters.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
so it's pretty serious stuff. A lot of times, what happens and how the chimneys start getting damaged on the masonry aspect, um, it could be because of the flashing that goes from the roof to the chimney.
Hmm.
Sometimes that flashing allows water to get inside, and now it starts damaging the chimney from the roof line down. A lot of times, um, if the chimney's not burning properly, venting properly, the inside is going to deteriorate. And on top of the chimney is called the weather crown. It's designed so that way the water rolls off and away from the chimney, so that way the chimney can absorb moisture. Let's just face it, chimneys love to absorb moisture. That's what masonry does. So if the crowns are good, you have a chimney cap on. Those are all things that'll help give the chimney more of life and give you more time to have to repair it as the homeowner.
And I mean, it's important because brick chimneys. I mean, let's just talk about the traditional one. So brick chimneys, they're heavy, right? So if that thing detaches from your house, you could basically the side of your house. If you're next to a neighbor, it can land on their house. Then you have to deal with homeowners insurance. If it goes the other way into your house, I've seen people try to take fireplaces apart, and literally the brick would just come down and just sink, right? Like not sink, but fall heavy right into their basement if it's like an upstairs fireplace. So making sure that you take care of your masonry is definitely important. You know, I'm sure that in your travels you've seen some weird stuff, right? So what's the weirdest thing that you've ever seen inside of a chimney that whether it not be used or be used?
I went to go and perform a level one chimney inspection, which is your typical visual.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to set everything up, drop lights inside the fireplace, so that way I have a better visual looking inside the venting flue. And there was a raccoon when I went to put a chimney brush on, and it was jammed inside there. So that
Oh,
was pretty freaky because
it's still alive.
it was alive,
Oh wow. Okay.
alive. So with my chimney brush, I was able to kind of give it a little scoop, and a push, so that way it was able to pop out on the top of the flue and come out of the chimney and then onto the roof. And thank
Right.
God it took off, you know,
Yeah,
because
yeah. It was like, thank God. All right, bye.
yeah, bye, see you later. You know what I mean?
I know that there's ways to prevent that, right? So, what are some things that people could do on the top of the chimneys to prevent animals from getting in?
Put chimney caps. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
I
put a chimney cap on there. You know what I mean?
All right.
Definitely.
Simple as that, huh?
Yep.
I know that when you went into mine, I think if I remember correctly, back then we actually found some dead birds. Again, that fireplace had no caps. It was dilapidated to say the least, and you were able to do it a whole repair on it and give me a nice fireplace insert. So it was something that took something that I don't hardly use as a part of my house to really kind of give me something to utilize during the winter as a secondary heating source. Now, I know that the cleanings are important, but what are some big myths and or misconceptions of chimney sweeping that you could kind of thwart for people so that they can understand like why they need a chimney sweep?
Well, as I said before, some people they don't use a fireplace. Some people don't use a wood stove. For the ones that don't, they do use a furnace though. Believe it or not, things are changing in the world. When I started this 23 years ago, and that's a long time ago, a lot of furnaces back then were connected to hot water heaters. So you had to kind of double route them into the same vending system. Um, Nowadays, you can buy an electrical water heater and have it run separate from the furnace. Now they have what's called power venting furnaces that they don't need a chimney. They vent them straight out the wall using PVC pipe. Um,
Okay.
so for the if for chimneys, if you don't have one of those updated systems, um, the furnace is really one of the bigger things because oil produces sulfuric acid, and the sulfuric acid eats away at the clay tile.
Mhm.
So, with that being said, and then as I said, from the furnace kicking on and off, it heats, contracts, and expands like a rubber band. So, it's doing a lot of damage on the inside of that chimney.
Mhm.
And if you don't have it cleaned yearly, then yeah, eventually the tile will collapse inwards. And what you'll have is your oil service provider, like Botini Fuel, Hudson Valley Oil. They'll tell you as a homeowner, hey, listen, you got to get in contact with a chimney guy. And the reason why is because they know that your chimney's blocked and it needs to be relined.
Mhm. Um, yeah, I mean it's definitely like when you're a new homeowner, it's definitely something that you're not thinking of this stuff, right? You're
Yeah.
just moving in and you're like, well, I have a furnace. I know that I could get a boiler guy to, take care of my furnace, right? And then I know that, you know, I have a fireplace, but I don't use it. So let's say somebody just doesn't use their fireplace. Will eventually that cause harm to not only the fireplace but to the home if they just neglect it for years and they just don't use it, or is it something that you know like they let's say they just use it as a centerpiece, even if they just don't do anything else, they just have it on there. Would that do any harm to the chimney if like they don't use it at all?
Um, there are a couple of things that they could prevent it from getting more damaged if it isn't damaged, or if it is damaged, they can prevent it from getting damaged, and they can prevent it from getting worsening the condition that it's in.
Mm-hmm.
If again, you put a chimney cap on it. Sometimes you can seal the vending flue so that way no critters get inside, water gets inside. Um, the name of my game is kind of like I'm I do what a dentist does, kind of, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
To clean out the plaque.
I clean out the plaque, and and then I put I fill them back up.
Yeah.
I tear them down and I rebuild them back up. Um, and I just make sure that everything is working the way it should. You know what I mean?
So,
Um,
so if somebody wanted to get any of the services for you, right? Um, what what's the best time to get in touch with you throughout the year so that they can make sure that they get you on the books?
well, right now, I'll be starting my masonry season this spring. So I'll be starting probably the end of this month, beginning of May. It's a little chilly out still. We've been getting a lot of rain. Um, so it would be good to start. I've already been starting to take customers on now, because you can't do masonry repair in the fall and the winter. Cement needs to cure, so that's why this is the time of the year where I offer that service, and I really focus on that. Um, right now, with the stuff going on with the tariffs and everything like that, I contacted all of my wholesale distributors. So we're still on the same board. Everything is going fine, but Regency stoves are made in Canada. So right now everything is fine, but I've spoken to my sales rep. So he's trying to tell me to emphasize to homeowners like right now is if you're interested in getting a stove, this is kind of a good idea to try to make a move on that
Yeah, get it
before
now
ta-
before it kicks in.
yeah, before
Uh,
price, if they do change anything, before they up anything or anything, everything still right now remains the same.
okay. I mean, I didn't even think of that, but so when it comes to getting in touch with you for the masonry, that's right now. What about for the flue cleaning? What time of the year should they start giving you calls?
I would say by the second week of August is a good time to start because once the kids go back to school, which is usually typically like the second week of September, I'm off to the races.
Okay, and
Yeah,
then what is your service area, right? So I know you say it's Hudson Valley Chimney, or excuse me, Master Sweep of the Hudson
Master Sweep
Valley.
of the Hudson Valley.
So Hudson Valley, right?
Yep.
Are you in the whole Hudson Valley? Are you in a specific part of the Hudson Valley? What parts do you service?
Well, when I originally started my business, I started in Dutchess County.
Mhm.
And then I had relocated up to the area where I am now and have been for the last 7 years, in Columbia County.
Okay.
So I'm kind of like at the border of Dutchess and Columbia. So what I did was I started servicing Dutchess, Ulster, Columbia, and Greene County. So four
So
counties.
so you're a one man show holding down four different counties. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're getting through it every year is another feat to say the least. So one of the questions that I like to ask business owners is, what is your biggest challenges that you face right now as a business owner? What is something that's like either new or up and coming or stuff that you have to deal with on a daily basis that, as a business owner, especially as a chimney sweep business owner, you have to deal with?
Hmm. Having to cross your T's and dot your I's at all times.
Okay. And I'm
No
sure
person.
I'm sure also employment for individuals working with you is also a big challenge too, right?
Yeah, it's a big challenge. I mean, workman's comp is very expensive. Um, and I don't want to come across like an arrogant person, but what I do is very intense. And there is a lot of liability on what I do just alone for myself. So
Mm-hmm.
with me hiring on someone, that's another liability because I need to make sure that person is safe. Um, and I don't want to hire people that just are looking for like paycheck to paycheck. I'm looking for someone that really wants to learn chimneys and wants to like take this to a career path because you just don't necessarily have to do restoration like I do.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually go into the stove manufacturing world and actually deal with, become like a salesman that sells stoves and you go to shows, etc., etc. You can take this on so many other levels in the chimney world, and I'm looking for someone that really wants to learn the trade.
Yeah.
And it's hard because it is a dying trade, like most trades, in today's world. And it is a lot of physical labor. You're working hard all day.
Yeah, and that's kind of like why I wanted to bring that up is because, if somebody, you said yourself, you didn't want to go to college. There's other options available to someone
Yeah.
instead of just saying, well, hey, you know what, I'm just not going to work. There's ways of being able to utilize different businesses, learn different trades, and really show that you are going to be impactful to your community. So being somebody like yourself, it would be and have something that makes you a living, so that you could actually do something on a daily basis that not only one you achieve something, right, you fix a chimney, you help a family, making sure that they don't have fires or carbon monoxide deaths. But on top of that, you're learning a trade that you could then eventually, teach your children, or you could, an apprentice, and continue that path of creating. Because chimneys aren't going anywhere anytime soon, so it's definitely something that is going to be utilized, and not to have that service available could really cause a big detrimental problem for the area. So I just wanted to make sure that people kind of understood some of the trials and tribulations, even as a business owner. So if somebody's looking to work for you, making sure that they're on their P's and Q's, if they fall off of a chimney, some of these chimneys are a couple feet high. What's the regulation for a chimney?
Well, it really depends. There's a code which is called the 310 2-foot code.
Mm-hmm.
So a chimney is supposed to be 3 feet away from the side of the house, within 10 feet from the peak of the roof, and within 2 feet above that peak. So it really depends, just kind of like the house and the outline of where the chimney's located.
Yeah.
So you kind of got an idea. Like for example, and then you also have like 1-story homes, 2-story homes, 3-story homes. So depending on the I guess the stories of the home is really depending on the height of the chimney.
And it, that's important, because now you're on scaffolding, right? You have to build scaffolding on the outside exterior. You're going on roofs that could be, pretty high up there, so you have to be somebody that's not afraid of heights.
Yeah.
You also have to make sure that you secure yourself, especially because there's different situations. Now, let's say it rains outside. Is that something that you're going to have to reschedule, or if it's snowing outside, you're going to have to reschedule with your clients?
Well, there's been a couple of times where I've done some crazy stuff because I came up with the nickname Chimney Sam. So when I first started this, sometimes I had to just do some stuff that I had to do. Were they risk? Absolutely. But again, I've been doing this for 23 years, so I have a lot of experience. Normally, typically when it rains, like such as today, I don't really like to do chimney sweeps. And the reason for it is because the chimney caps, they actually have a mist on them. And when you send the brush to clean the chimney, the brush is going to have to clean the inside of that cap. So therefore, the brush tends to get wet. And what you're doing, in my opinion, is you're painting that soot inside the venting system rather than removing it. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm putting the customer more in a liable situation, unsafe, rather than making sure they're safe.
Yeah.
So typically when it rains, no. When it rains, you can't do masonry. It's impossible. And when it snows, depending on the amount of snow, I've actually shoveled snow off of people's roofs. I have the equipment to get me safely to work on the roofs. Again, it depends, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I just want to make sure that people understand, like, there are some cases where it doesn't make sense to do the chimney cleaning that day, because like some people will be like, I scheduled it right now.
Yep.
And in some cases, they don't understand the repercussions of their actions, that if they were to do that and then something were to happen, not only are you as the business liable, but then they're also putting their family at risk, right? So I wanted people to kind of understand that, so that way it's not like, oh, why do you have to reschedule? Because it's raining, you're not even outside or something, and you're just doing a simple cleaning and you're inside. Well, there's a reason for that, and I just wanted to make sure people understood that. Okay. When it comes to some of the questions I have on here are pretty funny, but has anybody ever called you the real life Mary Poppins, or the guy who does the chimney sweep in Mary Poppins? I don't know if you're chimney,
yeah. No, I've had people say that, and then I've also had people sit here and say, like, "Wow, I really didn't know that there was so much to a chimney." You know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize how important it is. Um, and it is. And that's why I take a lot of pride and joy in doing what I do. You know what I mean?
And then now, so we went through kind of like some of the stuff that possibly could get stuck in the chimney, but let's talk about the house itself. I mean, if you're able to explain anything, well, what's the coolest house you've ever had to clean the chimney out of?
I actually went to a house that was designed like a castle.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And when you walked inside it actually spiraled inside the stairs to go up, to the floor that I needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And there were like these little hallways, and in the hallways there were like little bedrooms. It was kind of freaky. It was like going into a dungeon, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it was at the same time beautiful because I've never seen anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And beautiful fireplace. We did a custom cap for them, which was made out of copper. Because that's also a selection that I give customers: stainless steel or copper.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was beautiful. That like I never experienced anything like that. The guy was kind of like an Albert Einstein kind of guy. You know what I mean? But he was, cool. I meet very interesting people. Doing what I do,
Yeah.
like book writers. I've met chefs. I've met people that do like New York City ballets, theater, musicians. Not like Jay-Z or Beyonce or anything like that, but you get what I'm kind of meaning. Like
Yeah.
they mostly do like Broadway stuff like that.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just adding to like if you're kind of like walking around and stuff like that, it kind of uh you're gonna run into celebrities and stuff like that if you're able to. I don't know if
yeah,
you're not. I don't want to
yeah,
put you on the spot, but if you're able to say what the most famous person you ever seen in your travels, that'd be cool. But if you can't, that's fine. I understand.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna make no comment on that one.
Okay. So when it comes to homeowners, right?
Okay.
What would be some final words that you would want to leave them with in this interview to just help them understand the importance of chimney sweep?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, Ray.
So for homeowners, right? So you're talking to homeowners as an audience. What would you tell them is the most important thing about chimney sweep? Like your final words, like kind of like this is what you want to leave them with.
Mm.
I didn't say my questions were going to be easy.
Yeah, that was kind of that's kind of a hard one. I mean, the only thing I can really say is that we all work hard, obviously for our money, and a lot of us, I know myself, I invest in my home where I live. You know what I mean? I have my belongings, my children's belongings. There's a lot of stuff that is meaningful to me and to my family. So, with that being said, I want to make sure that my chimney is venting right. It's safe to vent. There's no carbon monoxide coming into my home. Um, the masonry structure is fine, or even the prefab structure, which is chimney pipe. Again, there's different types of ventilation. I just would want to say to everyone that's a homeowner in the Hudson Valley that, if you are in need of a chimney inspection or a chimney sweep, or you have a masonry issue, I'm the guy that you can call, Chimney Sam, over at Master Sweep of the Hudson Valley LLC, the certified chimney professional you can trust and depend on yearly.
Awesome. And now I know that we said homeowners, right? So now I want to push it over to people that want to be you eventually, right? That they want to eventually own their own business or they want to become a chimney sweep. What's some advice that you could tell some kid that's out there that's hey, I want to eventually become a chimney sweep, or college is not for me. I just want to do something that's in the trade. I don't want to be an electrician. I don't want to be a plumber. And this is a viable option for them. What would you say to that kid?
Um, Stay consistent, be persistent, Kind of be like that nagging gnat that flies and drives you crazy, and you're always trying to swat it away. And just keep, trying to learn as much as you can. Try to get involved with people that are doing this kind of work, um, and ask as many questions as you can, because you can never ask that many questions. You just keep asking and asking and asking, and try to get your hands on hands-on work, so that way you can actually feel it, you understand. Because some people don't comprehend, right, with just reading stuff. They got to actually touch stuff, you know so for kids that college wasn't for them, or it isn't for them, and like you said, they don't want to do that kind of stuff. This is good for a guy that's like physical. You like working out and stuff like that. This is perfect for those kind of kids. You know what I mean? Because hey, I'm giving you a free gym membership.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
No, I mean, I just want to make sure that people kind of understand that, you know, doing this service not only is important, but it's also a necessity, right?
Yeah.
But also for somebody that's looking for work, in some cases you could have a very flexible schedule. You're able to raise your family. You could actually go and meet some wonderful people. So it's not like where you're in an office in a cubicle and all you do all day is typing on a computer. This is something where you're outside. You're getting to get a lot of that vitamin D raining down on you from the sun. And I know that's not how it's done, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then you have the capability of really helping families. So like at the end of the day, you give them a beautiful fireplace insert, or you help them with their fireplace so that they're able to use it, and they can have a nice Christmas or a nice holiday where they have the fire burning, and they just have that good scene where you're just sitting by your fireplace and you're just sitting there and you're just absorbing that heat. So it's something that you can give fulfillment
Yeah.
just by doing these simple tasks as a chimney sweep.
Well, believe it or not, Ray, there are a lot of older homes, especially like in certain areas of the Hudson Valley. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, there are a lot of people that they use their wood stoves as their number one source of heat.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that a lot of people are very knowledgeable of that. There are a lot of homeowners and even tenants that are renting. Like I said, that they utilize their stoves for their number one source of heat in the winter.
Yeah.
You
Um,
know,
and it's still crazy in 2025, you still have that, right? But I
yeah,
mean, in some cases, gas is not available. Sometimes people run propane. And even in some cases like that, propane can be expensive. So they may want to run like a pellet stove or a wood stove. Um, Before I let you go, I want to also just kind of tap on that a little bit. I know that you went through the differences between the multiple different fireplaces, that or the inserts at least, but specifically more about the wood and the wood pellet, right? If somebody's installing a wood stove and a pellet stove, what is the major difference between the two in the burning element, right? So like, does pellets burn cleaner, or like just take me through that a little bit real quick.
well, I mean, pellets are more. They're a little bit easier as far as the fuel. So in other words, storage wise, pellets come in bags, so you're able to store them a little bit. I would say easier.
Mhm.
Um, as you start getting older, I deal with a lot of elderly customers, and they get to a point where it's difficult for them to lift wood, logs, and moving them from one destination to another. So pellet stove is a good thing because you can put them right in your garage, you can put them in the basement, and then you get a little pail, you can fill that up, and then just leave it by the stove, and then just make sure you top off the hopper. Whereas they both burn very efficient, but a pellet stove is not for someone that's always on the go. So, in other words, as a homeowner, you have an obligation to make sure that you maintain your stove throughout the year until I come to clean it for you on that yearly service. So, if you're not a person that's home a lot, you're a person that's on the go a lot. That's not really something for you. A lot of times, pellets also run off of electric. So if you don't have a generator, you lose power. You're not going to be able to operate that stove. Um, and it is a little bit more involved because there are a lot more components to operate a pellet stove than a wood stove.
Okay.
So typically, I always try to go the route more of a wood stove, um, especially for someone that is not very experienced with burning habits and doesn't know how to really burn fires or never use the fireplace or never use the stove. I typically try to push the wood stoves more than a pellet stove.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, these are some important things that people want to know. It's important to make sure also what type of wood they can burn, right? Inside. Um, so if I can't just take trees outside my backyard, right? There are specific types of wood that are more apt for burning,
Yeah.
especially indoors.
Yeah.
So what are some woods that they would want to stay away from?
I would.
Before,
You want to stay away from like a lot of fruity woods, like stay away from pine, obviously, because of the sap. You want to stay away from uncured wood that, in other words, hasn't been seasoned. It's a lot of moisture in that. I sell a lot of moisture meters to my customers, so that way they're able to. It's like two prongs. You stick it in the wood. It has a meter, and it'll let you know if it's dry or if it's moisture in the wood.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I say stay away from like a lot of fruity woods, wood that hasn't been stored in dry areas or hasn't been lifted off the ground. Um, because again, that really does create a lot of bad soot buildup inside the wood stove, which then leads to having to do repair. And sometimes repair work can cost a pretty good penny.
Yeah. So that's some awesome stuff, Sam. I do really appreciate having you on the show. It's not only are you somebody that I know of in the Hudson Valley, but you've actually helped my home, so I can speak as a customer that he's great. He has a lot of information, so he educates you while on the go, so that you understand what exactly you're paying for and why. So he takes you through the whole process. Guys, definitely give him a call if you have a chimney in the house. Or a furnace in the house that vents out. I mean, you should have both, but if you don't and you have one or the other, you definitely want to make sure that you get on his calendar pretty quickly because it fills up fairly quickly.
Especially
This
for
guy's a busy
masonry
man.
season this year coming and starting in a few weeks, so definitely give us a call if you're in need of any masonry repair.
All right, awesome. So that being said, everybody, hold on. So that being said, everybody, my voice changed. Anyway, so that being said, listen, this is a part of the Let's Talk Business Hudson Valley podcast. We want to make sure that everybody hears all the things that are going on with small businesses in the area. Check out our episodes, not only supporting the small businesses by liking their page, but also watching these videos. It'll definitely help utilize, and if you share them, it might help those customers out there that don't know about these businesses be able to utilize their services. This is something that we do on a weekly basis every Wednesday at 12 noon. You can definitely check out all the different episodes that we have available to you, helping all the small businesses get these much needed exposure, so that if you need to utilize them in the future, it's an easy way to find out more about them. We have many of small businesses in the Hudson Valley, and just being able to support them as a consumer shows that we care about our community, care about our small businesses, and we want to care about our economy as well. So this is Mr. Area 45, and we're going to be hitting the streets. Check us out every Wednesday at 12 noon. All right, guys, take it easy.